Hello and welcome to what is becoming my... I don't know. I feel like I'm doing this every chapter now. I feel like it's probably best that I keep this consistent and just like a running commentary of my thoughts as I play through the game. But welcome to my post-chapter 3 kind of look at what we've just played through and stuff like that. And uh pre-warning, I've got to like literally the end of chapter 3 and I just saw like the prologue where you have that Rantaro bit at the beginning. So that's going to really influence this. I haven't really thought too much. I'm going to maybe spend some time thinking about that in the future, but for now, I just wanted to kind of touch on what we've just played through. So, first of all, I feel like it's a bit of a red herring, but every single time we're getting labs open, the killer tends to be ones that we get the labs open for. Um, so I feel like chapter 4 might spin that. Therefore, I think the killer will be somebody who we don't get a lab for. I'm thinking that this would be who we got. So it was Mew and Kaede in the first one. Kurumi's already dead, so we've then got Gonta, who's left alive. Maki, but I don't think Maki's gonna die now. I feel like Maki is with us to the end. Ryuma's already dead. Kurumi's already dead. Everyone, so Tenko, Angie, and Kyo are all dead. Who all got their labs. I don't think that leaves anyone. Mew and Gonta and Maki. Yeah, if I quickly just give myself a look. We haven't got Kibo's lab. Oh, Himiko. We've got Himiko's lab as well. We haven't got Tsumugi. We haven't got Suichi. We haven't got Rantaro. We haven't got Kaito. We haven't got Akakichi. Yeah, so it's down to those four. And therefore, I think the killer is... Oh, the kill and the killed is going to be between Mew, Gonta, Maki, and Himiko. Now, I don't think Himiko is going to die. We've had two Himiko-focused chapters. And I feel like Himiko is now going to get some real proper progression. Although they could do a Nekomaru. Nekomaru could die. Well, no, Nekomaru died in chapter 4, like, as soon as he kind of came back. I don't like where that went. So, talking about that, though, chapter 4, Ogre dies in the first game. Chapter 4, Nekomaru dies in the second game. So that's our two big characters, which means I believe Gonta's going to die. So who's going to kill Gonta? Well, if we're down to the last three, I think that's really, really suspicious, because Mew could create an invention to kill Gonta, because Gonta is the strongest character. Himiko, I feel as... Oh, with Gonta carrying Himiko at the end, I don't think Himiko's going to kill. It would be... I feel it's not in Himiko's character, and I don't feel like it's really in Maki's character to kill Gonta. Mew is the only person I could potentially see it for. Maybe I've just solved chapter 4 without even playing it. Maybe I'll clip this and make a little short bit of it, just so that my Discord knows as well. Before they think I'm cheating, I've literally just invented this on the spot. I don't have a script for this. As you can tell by all the pauses and ramblings I'm doing. But let's talk about chapter 3, because without the theories, chapter 3 is what we just played. Angie and Tenko have just been murdered. And the motive was very weird. Now, I've got to say, I'm really liking some of the motives in Danganronpa 2 so far. The first one was, it's universal. It is, the First Blood Park. but it didn't make sense, and I've been trying to make sense of it because it just seems really weird. But at least it's universal. Everyone could have got it. I don't like the time limit aspect of it, but I do like the First Blood perk. The second one of the Return of the Videos, I don't like that they were just randomly split up and that people could get their own and whatnot. I would have preferred if you were guaranteed not to get your own. I feel like it's just a bit annoying that the kill relied on effectively Kurumi getting her own. And the reveal between Ruma and Maki was simply because they had each other's. But Chapter 3's being the resurrection, that is an extremely powerful thing. You have characters like Kaito who would keep hell away, right? But you probably know that Kaito would really want to bring Kaide back. It makes it really difficult. I had a lot of trouble at the beginning when and I only knew Angie had died. Because I really thought that it could be Kaito at that point. And I really struggled with that, and that's why I really love this motive. It's because you really don't know what people are going to do. Are people going to be too scared? Are people actually going to try and do it? And then, as you can only bring one back, are they going to fight over who to bring back? I mean, surely there was no vote between it. The student council just decided they're going to bring Rantaro back. And fair enough, yeah, Kaide was a killer, but still. But it's interesting that nobody actually got brought back. I would have thought that Rantaro would have been brought back. And quickly, while I'm talking about Rantaro, let's talk about that end bit where, or the beginning of chapter 4, technically, the prologue bit, where you've got Rantaro basically telling one person that it's not their first killing game, and that therefore, because it's them who want this killing game, that they have to win. Which is really odd. That's suggesting that there's no kind of favors towards that person. There's no benefit for them. And it's really, really odd. I'm trying to think of who that could be. But I think that would make Rantaro the mastermind in that case, right? Because he's created the game. The traitor, therefore, the person who this is for, is going to be one of us. And that I have no clue on. This is a weird, weird flip. Again, the only person I could think that this could potentially be would be Kaito. Because by the end credit thing for Chapter 3, we saw that he was coughing up blood. He was dying. Maybe he wants to prove himself. Maybe this is, he doesn't remember who he was. I think, therefore, Chapter 5 always has, like, the main characters, like, the more prominent characters, let's say. I think we're down to 3 main prominent characters, ignoring Suichi, which are Kaito, which are Maki, and which are Kichi, right? I don't think any other character who's left. I think what we got? We got Gonta Kibo, Himiko, Mew, Smugi, Kaito, Kibo. Sorry, not Kibo, Kichi, and that's it. And going through that, Smugi, I wrote off at the very beginning she will be the first to die. I think she's now a Sonya. I think she's now, no matter what, she's going to survive to the end because she has so little going on that she must survive to the end. As I said, I think Mew might be the killer in the next chapter. Maki is going to survive to the end, I think. because she's the one who's having that development. But she's one of these main characters now. Kibo, I don't know. I could see Kokichi killing Kibo, or Kibo snapping and killing Kokichi. But I think also because he's the ultimate robot, he has to apply to the rules of robotics. One of them being a robot can't harm a human, right? So I don't think he would, and Gonza definitely wouldn't hurt anyone. And he's not really the main character in that way. Which means that, to me, I think Chapter 5 is going to be down to Kichi, Kaito, and Maki killing each other. And I think Maki is going to survive to the end, and I've for the past 2 chapters have been saying that Kaito is going to kill or be killed. So I think that Kaito is going to be killed by Kokichi, or Kokichi is going to be killed by Kaito. That's my prediction. I don't think that's Chapter 4. I think that's Chapter 5. Despite Kaito coughing up blood, I think that is Chapter 5. Which means our survivors of Danganronpa 3 would be Suichi, Kibo, Sumigi, Himiko, and Maki. I think that makes sense. Okay, so I think that's enough theorizing about different things coming up in the future. Let's talk about the actual crimes themselves. So, Chapter 3's crime, I think, was probably the most... It was actually really interesting in a crime sense, because the killer was Kyo, and a lot of things pointed to Kyo, like the weapons were in his room, the ritual was in his room, it was very obvious, which made it feel like it was a double bluff a lot of the time. But if it was just Angie being dead, I'd have no clue, right? I didn't know where to look. I was considering it being Kaito, I was considering it being Himiko or Tenko, but Tenko's death solidified it as it having to be somebody in the room. I spent like 2 hours after the stream basically making like a huge list. If you want to be in my Discord, you can do, and you can find that out there. I wrote everything down, but it felt really, really easy after the Tenko bit to basically say, well, the killer had to be there, work it out like Ryoma's kill. How did Ryoma get into the piranha pit? Into the water chamber. Well, the only thing that entered the water chamber was the piranhas, therefore he had to enter with the piranhas. Fairly obvious logic. Tenko in the cage. How did the weapon get to her? Well, either the weapon was glued to the bottom, which is no evidence that it was glued or anything. So, okay, then the weapon must have been placed there on top of her. The only things that really were actually put in there was Kokichi and Suichi putting in the cage. All 4 of them, Kyo, Himiko, Kokichi, and Suichi putting on the dog. And the only person who ever brought anything in alone was Kyo with the cloth, which was, covered up the cage, and that was the point where we couldn't see anything anymore, which made that Kyo fairly obviously Tenko's killer. But it made it a really nice switch, and I really actually appreciated that Angie, because the killer would only be blackened for the only blackened would be the one for the first kill, which is Angie. And that actually brings up a different thing. It's like, which one is found first, right? If Angie is found first, and not Tenko, obviously we know that Angie actually happened first and Tenko happened afterwards. But what would happen if, like, the person who was killed second was found first? Would we only be investigating that crime? Would we then have to spend the investigation figuring out who was killed, at what time? That would be interesting. Um, but yeah, so I've got to say, chapter three's motivation, though, not the motive in question, but Kyo's reason for killing, I don't like. I mean, to be fair, I do really appreciate having a kill in a Danganronpa game that isn't just because I want to get out and I want to do this. I want one to be like, yeah, I'm a murderer. I'll murder people. Sue me. But I don't think the game's ever really going to go that way because it wants you to feel sympathetic for every character. Kyo's just never felt. Well, it didn't feel right. It just made him feel insane. And the only thing I really felt for Kyo was pity. Right? Not like a sadness pity, though. It was like a. Okay, you're clearly insane. Also, the death of Monodam at the end. Very curious which Monocub is going to be left standing. I assumed if Monotaro went here, it would be Monofin at the end. But now that Monodam's gone, it might be Monotaro at the end. Either way, I also had the weird random theory that Rantaro was actually Monodam. I was expecting Rantaro to actually come back at the end of this chapter, and he hasn't so far. So I had the little theory in my head going that, oh, well, Monodam only spoke after Rantaro died, and Monodam's now going to stop speaking because Rantaro's going to come back. Interesting. Obviously, he hasn't come back, so that thought's gone. My whole kind of being the mastermind, I don't really think stands to the test of time now. But it is what we got. So, Kyo, I actually I'm really annoyed because I started to gain respect for Kyo. I started to really like Kyo towards the end. Or at least through chapter 3, he decided to have more personality and more time to really develop. But it's just a bit sad. He didn't feel like he developed as a character, and it's because he never lived as a character. He lived for somebody else that wasn't even his. And the weird incest bit, like, that's really weird. It made me lose. So I'm doing this not long after we woke up. It made me lose what respect I actually had for him in the first place, which isn't really nice. But at the same time, it's like, was it needed? However, let's talk about the other two. Angie from day one, I put on my tier list of characters and went, right, she is a likely serial killer. Okay, she didn't kill anyone, but she created a cult, and I've got to say, I have never had more disdain for a character than I have for Angie. I hate Angie. She is the closest thing to a character in that game that I hate. Because she is you've got Kokichi as the ultimate supreme leader. I don't think that's right anymore. I think bloody Angie is the ultimate supreme leader. Because look at her, she's able to manipulate so many characters to her will in such a short space of time. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I don't see how any character really sits there and goes, oh yeah, actually I'm going to join your cult and worship a god I've never heard of before. So the fact that she was able to, get at least at least 3 followers. Was it Kibo, Gonta, Himiko? Oh, and Smee, that's 4. And I think it was fairly obvious that Tenko infiltrated. Yeah. We knew Tenko's motivations lied with Himiko, so it wasn't really in the student council. But I've got to say, the student council is a good idea to have in that game, in that scenario. Have a student council set up from after the first death and go, okay, right, this is serious. Set up a student council and make sure this doesn't happen again. Set some ground rules. We can't enforce them because we can't. Otherwise, the only thing we can do is really kill. So, set some ground rules, and if not, we'll just keep away from you. You live your own life, and the rest of us won't interact with you. You know. But Angie, I don't like using the word and the term. I think it gets thrown out a lot. But her actions were very fascistic. Especially in the fact it's like, oh, right, you all want to get out of here? Well, I say we're all going to live here happily, under a tour, for the rest of our lives. So, screw your memory torch. I don't want your memory torch. Boom, gone. It's like, what? You don't get to decide that for me. You do not get to decide that for me or any other character. If you don't want to be in the room when we do it, that's fine. You don't have to be. But the rest of us might want our memories. And then she does the whole, oh, only the student council are allowed out at night. She literally phrased it in, no one is allowed out at night except from the student council. And it really reminds me of the Orwell quote, which is, all animals are made equal, but some are more equal than others. And it's such a good example of that. So, when Angie died, she died, I think, last week from when I'm doing this. And then I did the investigation basically the week after. I had the entire week to think about her crime, and I barely spent a thought on it because I had so little care for Angie herself. Moving on to the other victim though, Tenko. Tenko is somebody who I started to respect a bit more towards the end, and it feels weird that the person who I've disliked for the entirety of the game so far because of how misandrous she is, for the entirety of the game, I've disliked her, and I started to gain more respect for her because at least she's fighting for Himiko. She openly put aside her differences with me, Tsuichi, to go and speak to Angie and be like, don't do this. She infiltrated the student council to try and protect Himiko. She openly stated to Himiko just before she died that, look, live on, be happy, do what you want to do with your life. I will always support you and I'll always be there for you. I'm your best friend. I will always be your friend. And I really, as soon as she said that, by the way, I really went, oh god, Tenko's gonna die here. And the third victim of this one, bloody Kokichi outside the door. Got me good, chat. Chat got me good. But yeah, I think I didn't really care for Angie's death. Tenko's crime, I went to try and solve in 2 hours because I genuinely cared at that point for Tenko. Not at all for Angie. Not at all. To be fair, I didn't really even think about Angie. Also, there was a secret in that game, in that chapter, which was her having there was a light in the room that's saying something like "What is here" or something, and then when the lights go out, there was like a number code on there. I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna see if I can figure it out. Maybe it has something to do with the horse thingamabob that was there. But I don't know. But this video is going on way too long just for me rambling, so I will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, going forward, my theories are that Maki, Mew, Gonta, and are they the only three? No, there was one other one, wasn't there? with a room. Who else has a lab? Himiko. One of those four are going to die next chapter, and then one of the three of Kaito, Kikichi, or Maki in the 5th chapter. But I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.